This is going to be the last video I cover on The Last of Us Part 2, for now anyways. But I got some things I want to say, some points I want to talk about, and I'm hoping that this does not drag on longer than 10 to 15 minutes. First and foremost, I played this on my channel twice. I played it in the original order of events that, were in the game, and then did chronological order. I really liked chronological order. I think a lot of people would benefit from playing the chronological mode. However, I still kind of have a bias with the original way the story was told because although it's controversial and whatever anyone wants to say is it sets you up to be pissed off and angry and motivated to hunt down Abby in the original. And then things happen and you start to play as Abby and you start to learn, why she did what she did and that she feels bad about it and she's trying to make it right in the best way she can. And so it starts humanizing her and you can start relating to her, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, I get it, I understand, but at the end of the day, Joel's still dead. And so you bounce back and forth between those things throughout the whole entire game. And then, of course, when you play as Ellie, you're just killing people regardless. Ellie killed a pregnant woman, and Abby was going to, but because Lev reminded Abby of her humanity, Abby didn't. And, Abby let it go, and at the end of the game, Ellie couldn't let it go, even though, she had the life she wanted, everything, and so couldn't let go of the revenge. I like the original way the story was told, but I do see the appeal of chronological mode. And I think a lot of people would like it if they did try it. I think both stories, original or chronological, could have benefited from a more lengthy intro. And I definitely feel as if you got a considerable amount of playtime as Joel, then maybe things would have turned out a lot better with this game. I have a few reasons of why I think people don't like this game is because, number one, when they were marketing it, they had said that you'd be able to play as Joel. You never get to play as Joel in this game. You get to play with Joel, your Ellie and flashbacks and all that stuff. Well, actually, I take that back. You get to play as Joel in the beginning of the game when you're riding a horse with Tommy and all that, going to Jackson. But past that, nothing. And I think that really pissed off a lot of people. And it's understandable, And in a trailer they released, it made it seem like Joel was going to go on this journey with Ellie. And then come to find out, that was not true at all. And it was actually Jesse who was in that horde. Number two, they killed Joel in the first few hours. And that's why I say I think the game could have benefited from a more lengthier intro with playtime as Joel. But, you do that with a beloved character, and it's always going to piss people off no matter what. Then they make you play as Joel's killer, and I think that's probably the straw that broke the camel's back with some people because they wanted, to kill her, kill Abby and all that, and then you get to play as her, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And I felt the same way when I first played this game. I was just like, why? Like, there's no why. Well, then it goes through, Abby's whole story and why she did what she did and everything. And like I was saying earlier, you kind of start to see things, you start to, at least I did, you start to believe like, okay, what's the point of revenge really? Like, this whole cycle of violence needs to stop. Then at the very end of the game, you don't get to kill Abby. And when I first played the game and I was fighting her at the ending, I really didn't want to kill her, and I thought that Ellie was going to, and I was just kind of like, that just doesn't seem right. That it just doesn't fit the bill. Like, what's the point? Both of them are broken and have pretty much lost everything. What difference is it going to make? They're both suffering. And what I had thought when I first played the game was, I'm glad that we at least were able to fuck her up a lot, because you end up slicing her up and all the shit. And I was happy enough with that. I was like, you know what? We fucked her up like she fucked Joel up. That's enough revenge. I'm tired of it. I don't want either character to die. I just, go your separate ways and, let it go. But I do think that if maybe they gave players the option to kill Abby, that a lot of people would have appreciated that. I think I would have, because it would add replay value, and it wouldn't be so dead set on, what could happen in part 3. Because if you think about it, if you have the choice to kill Abby, then you have two options. Okay, well, what did people like more? Killing her or letting her go? Kind of like a safety net in a way. And at the very end of the game, and I know that this pisses people off, is Ellie ends up losing everything. She loses the ability to play the guitar. She loses Joel. She loses Dina and AJ. And all she has left is her humanity. But that's kind of the whole point of the game, because Ellie gets just in this dark place of tunnel vision revenge. Nothing else matters, and she just starts doing shit that's just not right. Like even at the end of the game where she's pointing a knife at Lev's throat saying, "No, you're gonna fight me," when Abby didn't want to. It's just, that's not right. That's not good. She's he was defenseless, and it's just kind of fucked up. And Abby, on the flip side, loses everything too. She loses all of her friends. She loses her love interest. She doesn't have her dad anymore because of Joel. And the only thing she has left is Lev and the potential of reuniting with the Fireflies. So there's a whole bunch I could talk about with this game. I would honestly love to make like a 2-hour long video just going deep into why I love this game and why I will always go up to bat for it. At the end of the day, I just I hope that a lot of people come around with time and realize that this game wasn't as bad as what people were making it out to be. It did not help this game at all that someone hacked into Naughty Dog and pretty much released the whole story without the game being out, because a lot of people read into that and then made up their minds like, okay, Joel dies, I'm not playing the rest of the game. But even then, when it came out and people were able to play, you play through that and a lot of people just quit then and there. So I wish a lot of people would have played through the rest of the game and gave it a fair shot, and then if they still didn't like it, then that's okay. But it is what it is. You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. But so I think I'm gonna end this video here. The last thing I want to say here is I typed up this thing. I'll just read it. I was introduced to The Last of Us when I watched YouTubers PewDiePie and the Rad Brad play through it. I thought the game looked really cool, so after a while I purchased my first PS4 and The Last of Us Remastered. I played through the whole game, and when I was home from school with strep throat, and after finishing it, I couldn't believe how much better it was to play it than watch it, and I couldn't wait for there to be a sequel. The sequel was announced, and I, and along with a whole slew of other fans, were thrilled to be able to experience The Last of Us world again. After a long wait and a few delays later, Part 2 finally came out. After playing the first 2 hours of the game, I was in shock that you wouldn't be able to play as one of the most beloved characters in gaming. However, I knew that there had to be a point to this, so eventually I played through the game all the way. What I couldn't believe after finishing Part 2 is how well a video game can handle such an emotionally complex story. I was excited, sad, angry, confused, and intrigued, and shocked during and after beating Part 2. Part 2 dives into why revenge is not worth it and shows you how bad things can be when you get lost in it. It also tackles subjects of grieving your loss and keeping your humanity. It's unlike anything I've ever played. It is by far my favorite game of all time for now. And hopefully one day I, and along with others that love this game and this series, will be able to experience The Last of Us Part 3. So, those are my final thoughts. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this series. I had a blast recording it. I'm glad that I was able to go back and re-experience it and experience it in a new way. Hopefully you guys did too. I mentioned in the video before this, I appreciate any support. I do this because I love video games. I don't expect anything. So any support I get is greatly appreciated. And hopefully whenever you guys are watching this video, you're having a fantastic day. And I hope to catch you guys in whatever series comes next. Until then.